What's going on, y'all? It's your girl, My Desire, and of course, T.
Hey, hey.
This is it, bro. This is it. We've had an amazing ride. Okay, I don't have my tissue over here. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's episode 10, The Man Who Fell to Earth. Uh, this episode is called The Man Who Sold
The
the
world.
World. And it was a very interesting title for me. I'm the man who sold the world.
I feel like
Yeah.
they were like following like a format. I feel like these are all um song titles. I could be off.
I have no idea, but I will say that we just want to praise. And we should have got the list of everybody. Actually, what? Hold tight. Let me do that because people know that we are human, and we can do things on the fly
Oh,
too.
indeed, indeed.
So I'm about to real quick because I feel like um they deserve to be shouted out. So here we go. Um, we have. God damn it! I don't want to jack his name up, but I'm gonna do that. Chiwetel Edgy 04. Look at
Got it.
me! Look at me
That's it.
getting it right. Oh shit! Naomi Harris, Anel Ola which is Molly. Clark Peters, who is Josiah. Bill Nye, who is Thomas Newton. Jimmy Simpson, our favorite, who is Spencer Clay. Sonia Cassidy, who is Edie Flood. Joanna Ribeiro, who is Lisa Dominguez. Kate Mulgrew, who is Drew French.
Yeah.
Rob Delaney, who was Hatch Flood. Shout out to Tanya Moody, who is Portia. And these are the people that made this show amazing, absolutely amazing. Um, the episode brings us into pretty much what you were talking about last time, right? We get to see the end, which started as the beginning
Mm-hmm.
when we first started this season. Of course, Faraday and Justin are now having this conversation with Newton, and he's saying that his plan obviously is to bring all of the Anthony's here. However, they got the message wrong, right? Because they thought that he was saying he's bringing everybody. He's only bringing the adepts.
They only bringing the smart people.
He's only bringing the smart folks. He said he don't want no drones because the humans finna be drones, right? They gonna do whatever for the right motivation, I guess, so to speak.
Right.
Um, I'm not surprised by this because Newton is obviously selfish for more. We've seen this throughout the season, right? But were you surprised by it? Like, did it at all stump you that he was not going to bring everybody down here, which happens to also include Faraday's family because they are drones as well.
I think the entire thing was just misleading. Because we are led to believe kind of like that his intentions are ill will. Like he's bringing them back with the intent to do something to the earth or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, and but his intent is to try to bring back what he can, and try to make try to save the earth and rebuild the earth so that they can live on it.
Right.
Basically, you know what I mean. So it's been a lot of mixed messages about who was doing what, and obviously a lot of misdirection in this episode as well.
Absolutely. And of course, we see them going back and forth a little bit, and unbeknownst to us, we are now finding out that Justin changed the algorithm, right? I don't know
No,
if
I
you
feel like we've
knew
been through that.
that she changed the
Yeah, yeah.
algorithm.
I feel like they like when they were like rushing out of the lab, and then they had that scene where she was changed like before she shut the whole thing down and she like sent it out or whatever. I feel like they showed it right then and there. Like
Oh,
we
it didn't look like she was changing anything. To me, it just looked like she was putting in a
right.
code to
She needed a fail
upload.
safe. She
Yeah,
needs some protection.
yeah. Well, I didn't see that coming. I definitely thought that she was just, and though that particular episode moved really fast for me. So I was just
Right.
like, she's just typing it. It's kind of like a control alt delete type situation. Like, boom, here we go. So yeah, so of course now Newton is telling her like, you gotta unlock this code for the algorithm for us, and that's the only way you're getting out of here because you can't get out of here any other way. So are you surprised that Faraday doesn't like stand up for her in a sense? I mean, for me, I felt like they had built a connection, which they still do. They have the connection, of course, but Newton does have a father like hold over Faraday. Were you surprised that he didn't, I guess, say more about, you know, Justin's idea of changing the algorithm?
No, like I mean, obviously that was the smart thing to do, especially when you got the CIA and every freaking organization on your back.
Right.
But as far as like Faraday and Thomas Newton's like relationship, I feel like we've kind of gotten like a little bit more of that, especially as we come into this episode and we see just kind of like their exchange at the beginning. I guess they're doing like their language, sign language, what it looks like, or whatever it is. And we kind of just see like a little bit of their relationship with each other and how they interact. Of course, that plays a little bit later on in the episode. But as we kind of going back and forth, it's always felt like a father son relationship. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like the way they
Hmm.
talk to each other. When through the communications and stuff like that they had throughout the season, their relationship has always felt like because like I said, he could have picked anybody, could have been any drone at random that he knew would have definitely done the task with no question.
Right.
But definitely had the chance to see like their relationship evolve like throughout the 10 episodes, even though we only get Thomas Newton like a
Bits and
handful of
pieces.
episodes if
Right.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that they did a good job at the progression of their relationship for sure because you can see how they both love each other, but they also have this weird like they're well more so Faraday towards Newton. He's angry. He feels betrayed. Newton lied to him, and he feels like he had the right to know, especially because he did call for Faraday from thousands of miles away to bring him here
Right.
for this particular purpose. And so, of course, that's interesting. And um, Justin, she walks off and she's wandering trying to get service in Cambodia. Come on, girl. Like, you ain't got no international service like that. And of course, Faraday, has this moment with her. I wasn't sure. Well, let me say this. I love the way that they played, they that they uplifted the black woman in this moment. For me, it's very like, I love the speech because he's saying, how could I not know love? Because she's asking, about Molly, and he's saying, I won't let anything happen to her because I love her. And she's like, you don't know what love is. And he's like, how could I not? I've watched you put lotion on your dad's, skin when he gets ashy, essentially, from all the medication that he's taking. I watch you
Right.
braid Molly's hair. I watch you forgive me and show up and pick me up when I gave you every reason not to, So this is how I know love. And so I love the kind of like the ode to how we show love, how we are loved, as black women. What were your thoughts about that specific scene?
I that particular scene, I was thinking that was almost like a recap of the entire season right there in a sentence, and showing what we already knew, how Anthony's like kind of evolve to the people that surround them,
Hmm.
and seeing like you said, like back in episode 1 2 where he was getting his ass whipped on the side of the road for money, and she had the opportunity to just keep it moving and keep it going, and completely avoid this, but that wasn't in her nature. That's not the type of person she is, and that's not how she was raised.
Right.
So her coming back to help him, and you know help him with the do her what she needed to do, even though there was like a mutual exchange at first, but it became more, as she got to know him and a little bit more of what he was set to do. And of course, he let her telling her that he was special and she was the one that was initially going to save the world was not a lie. It was 100% true. Like, she does play a
Hmm.
big part in what eventually is going to happen to Earth and saving Earth and Anthony and herself. So, like I said, that was a really great moment. And of course, from her perspective, it's probably sounding like he's just saying what he needs to say to get
So
her to
good.
do what he
Right.
needs to do. Yeah, you know what I mean. But the conversation comes like he showed that he loves Molly. And that was another relationship that evolved. Like, because like when he first got there, he had no feelings towards her.
Right.
Everybody was just a
What
means
is
to
this
an end.
pupil doing awake?
Right.
Right.
Everything was like a means to an end.
Right.
She was just basically an annoyance at that point. Like she wasn't listening. She wasn't following the direction, stuff like that. But he learned to love her like it was his own kid.
Mm-hmm.
And you could definitely see like throughout the episodes like his the way he talks to her is
Right.
completely different from
He's
episode to
grown
episode.
in
Like he
he's grown in affection first. Almost, I kind of equated to. This is part. No, I can't do that. I was gonna say it's more like it's to me it reminds me a little bit of Twilight when, um, Jacob what they call it he ingrained or, um, I just messed that all the way up. People,
I've seen
people,
Twilight.
people who watch Twilight are gonna kind of rip me for that one. But anyway, I feel like that he's just growing an affection for her, where he understands her now, so he can have that affection towards her, and he can love her in that father daughter way. And so, and even almost as a friend way too, because she is his friend. Like she has made, like sh he is better because of her. And it wasn't necessarily that dynamic that he didn't understand, because he didn't really understand the daddy daughter dynamic per
Right.
se in terms of how we understand it, but he became to understand the friend aspect of it. So of course, we have Justin returning home right after
Yo.
deciding to give the algorithm lock to Faraday and Newton, and she leaves and she heads home, and of course she goes and she's in bed with her dad. And I love the daddy daughter dynamic here. I love how, um, just seeing a black father in this capacity is really, really beautiful, especially with the fact that his condition is now back. And so, she goes in there and she's telling him, like, no, I can't have hope and I don't believe anymore. And he's telling her, like, I'm looking out this window with a completely different view now. Like I see things differently. And then Molly comes in and she's also laying with him as well. This scene was just so dope for me, because I think that sometimes we forget that these type of relationships exist despite illnesses that come in and do take over, the physical presence of people in our lives. And so how did this scene make you feel?
I was very interested to see how Josiah would be after kind of losing
Hmm.
pretty much what he the gift that he was given through his sacrifice.
Right.
So definitely it was kind of back to the status quo, but back to the status quo with money, which was like the biggest issue and the
Mhm.
obstacle that they had because they couldn't afford
The
to
medication.
have him live comfortable until he died, and he
Right.
is going to die. There's no whatever about that at this point. Like what I mean, like he's definitely going to go. There's no other cure for this disease at the moment
Right.
that he has. But definitely just going back to see jumping kind of going back to episode one and seeing the relationship that they had, between each other and how they were taking care of each other, and how even Molly on board with how the family operation works at this point and take care of her grandfather, and just being able to see him at his best at his worst. You know what I
Right.
mean? Because as far as we know, he's kind of always been, probably not always been at that state, but she had the opportunity to see her grandfather at 100%. So that was definitely a gift that they definitely she can never get back again, or maybe if another Anthony decides to transfer.
Yeah,
But
maybe. I mean, yeah, I definitely, this scene was probably one of my favorites. The episode overall was like amazing and well done, but they just did a really good job at the scenes that they have, um they have as a family together, you know what I mean? So, okay, so of course now here we go, which is a very interesting scene to me, that Finch and Dominguez are now in the office where Finch and Spencer once were, and now of a sudden Spence's death is labeled as a suicide and not a murder, basically, which
she
I
she trying
found,
she trying to turn another asset in the scene, like
yeah, absolutely. So, I was really shocked with this scene. I mean, at all, were you thinking that this is where it was gonna go?
no, I was surprised because I mean we just seen in the previous episode that where Dominguez, where her loyalty was, and we found out that she was paid like a ton of money to do what she did. So it's kind of weird. It's like, okay, you with the CIA, or you working for this
Right.
guy?
Right.
But it's made clear here that Finch really did have a strong bond with Spencer, regardless of whatever she did or not. She did have a strong bond with Spencer. She did, feel like that was her son.
Hmm.
So but she felt some type of way that she killed him. But at the same time, she's seen an opportunity and she wasn't going to waste it. You know what I mean? She's still CIA at the end of the day.
Right. Well, I mean, also too, I think that she does what she does best, right? She finds or happens to be in a good space to find people who are in distress in one form or another, and then she makes the best use of them, right? And so I wasn't, I guess, seeing this scene, it gave me some clarity because I'm like, okay, so she's with Thornton, aka Newton, the oil company, excuse me, so it's not MI6, right? It's not another like government agency.
Right.
So she didn't really need to kill Spencer at the end of the day. I think that had she found a different way, there could have been a different outcome for her because now she's on the hook for treason, right? She's got a shitload of money, but if something happens and goes down, now she's basically caught in the fire type situation.
Right.
So she basically tells her like, look, this is gonna happen one way or another, so you need to find me a way to both of them, and she just seems weak and docile, and she admits to doing so, or admits to like saying yes, that she will do her best to find them essentially. So I guess Dominguez is now the new Spencer. Only maybe she's not as bad as Spencer, but how would we really know? So we fast forward a little bit, and we get to the I think we get to the part where now the news reporter or the journalist comes in, and she's talking to Edie, and Edie says, you deal with me, nobody else hatches out.
Yeah.
If you want this, then this is how it's going to be. You don't get to talk to Faraday unless I want you to talk to Faraday, and everything is just coming through me. What are we like? This scene felt, it didn't, I don't know, I can't find the right words for it.
I guess like because there's like 3 months later,
Right.
this is supposed to, I guess the this is supposed to show kind of like where Edie is like in position of power.
Like a jump. Yeah,
um
yeah.
and she's obviously she still feels some type of way about her brother. I mean, like, let it go. But you know what I mean. Like, but she's now the direct link to Faraday at this point. You
Right.
know what I mean? So, and like I said, we're coming back into where we jumped in from season one. I mean,
Right.
episode one. Episode
Episode
one.
one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, so I guess for me, I felt like this is just her way of trying to. Well, yeah, she's a control freak. She needs to have all the control. She needs to hold the reins, right? So of course, but we speed up a little bit from there, and we go into the newscast, right? You see all over New York City, all over the world, that they're saying like, oh, she's getting ready to drop this article she's been talking so much about, or whatever it is, have you. And that of course Origin is now getting ready to showcase, right? But before I get there, let's also get with something real quick, to not to forget that Newton has the company essentially because he has most of the shares that Hatch sold to him, and now he has control over Origin, right? And essentially the
Right.
Origin
Pretty
doesn't
much
even
owns it all at this point.
right, exactly. So so now we have them going into, the newscast, the broadcast, and we see, Edie come out, and she's talking about her dad, which seemed like, of course, a bunch of bullshit. And Faraday comes out. What, like, from here on to the end of the episode, like, well, I can't do that, but from here up until they are all captured, like, what is your feel for like what's getting ready to happen? Like,
Well,
do you see what's getting ready to happen, or
no,
did
no,
it?
no. One. I mean, that was the way they did that. Because I mean, we initially see this, we don't see any of the CIA, we don't see any of the or MI6
Right.
coming down. In that initial episode one, and so we see it from another perspective. I was really excited because I feel like I've been waiting for this for 10 episodes. I really been wanting to see where this was leading to, what was going on. At this point, we now know that Thomas Newton's plan is to go back, go grab the Manthians, come back. It's a one trip thing. That's it. You know what I mean? Like, we'll grab as many as I can. They explain like they're only able to grab, it's thousands on the planet, but they only grab a few hundred,
Right.
if that, you know what I mean. So how do you decide at that point? You know what I mean. So all this is going through my head, like how do you decide? Who do you take? Or but of course they try to figure it out, right?
Right.
But at this point, I'm like, oh man, they we waited all this time, and the MI6 is about to capture him. Like all these organizations want to shut this down.
Hmm.
The plan was to, they finally found a way to miniaturize the fusion device again,
Right. Right.
which I'm like, all right, cool. I think they were going to show it, but they found a way to miniaturize the fusion device, and he shows it, and they come after him, and they wake up in a room.
Right.
Um, yeah, like I said, that whole scene was like I said, not tense, but like pretty exciting to see like where this was going to go.
It was
Like I said,
tense for me, but you know what I thought, to be honest with you? Like I thought that it was some sort of virtual projection. Like
I thought that's where they were going to go to. Like it
I
wasn't really him,
yeah, I
and he
thought
wasn't there the whole
that
time. Yeah,
yeah, like I was like, nah, ain't no way that they gonna expose him like this and just have him real on a stage. But it,
right.
of course. And so
Yeah, pretty much at this point, like we start setting up a chessboard. Like the whole rest of like this whole episode is like them just playing chess with the whole situation. And it's like, Faraday finally kind of getting back control of like everything. He's no longer playing the drone. He's 100% adept at this point.
right. Yeah, but I mean, but that's what Newton said in like maybe like the first few episodes, that he never should have been a drone to begin with. So he's always been smart. He's always had his own, his own thoughts. So like you said, we get them and they're back in the room now, and Finch comes in here on her boss shit, and I'm looking at her like now I used to hate Spence. Spence is gone. Now I hate you because you just doing some real. This is some wild shit that's happening, and so she's asking questions. She thinks she's in charge. Where are the rest of the cubes? Listen, bruh. I know you got Justin and Hatch here. Bring them in the room. I ain't talking until then. Uh, no, we not doing that. And people were looking over, and he's like, thank you. Now you're asking questions and such and whatnot, and maybe your notes are a little bit more in depth than mine on this part, because I was just very much into this scene. But of course, she's asking questions, and like, where are the rest of the cubes? And he's saying, listen, I got a fail safe, okay? Like in the next 12 hours, the whole algorithm is going to be out there for the whole entire world to see it. And like Hash likes to point out, China makes things a lot faster than the U.S. does. Okay, so y'all gonna take 3 months, they gonna take one, shit gonna be done, and y'all gonna be SOL.
Right.
But Faraday goes on to say, like, hey, like, Thorn oil or what have you belongs to me. I hold the majority shares for Origin, which is owned by Thorn, and yeah, and now Justin and Hatch are. I think he said like the majority shareholders,
Yeah,
because
they're
he's
they're the
transferring.
owners.
Right,
Yeah.
because he's transferring his ownership to them, and so now they will be the owners. And so, what do you think about this whole scene, like his whole negotiation, like the process in which he's like laying down the law, almost in a sense?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely appreciate that. I definitely liked it because it definitely sets up. Not only does it protect Justin and Hatch, but I mean, like I said, he had all this planned out. Like exactly, this was going to happen. This is how these organizations were going to react. They were going to try to kill him. They were going to try to bury him somewhere. But like he said earlier in the early episodes, he had to make himself be somebody that was untouchable, and that was one of the reasons why he was given the company and everything else, because if you become a public figurehead, people are going to not only ask questions, but you have something that everybody else wants, and on top, and of course the cliche, If you do something to me, I'm going to leak it on the internet. You know what I mean? I'm going to put it out there. It's like everything is used that. Like, you know what I mean? Like if something happens to me, it's going to be out on the internet within 12, the 12-hour fail safe or whatever it is.
Right.
Um, but again, Finch comes in here, thinking she with all the power, and instantly gets knocked down. And this also sets up for Lisa, who is playing the good guy in all this. She she's also being protected by Justin as well, because
Mm-hmm.
she legitly is scared for her life, and she was just doing what she thought was in her best interest at the time.
That part got me though. What do you can you expand on that for a little bit? Because like I'm thinking to myself, um, did Lisa? Well, no, Lisa didn't play her because Lisa told her the truth.
Right.
Well,
Everything at that point was the truth. Like her
right.
working.
Justin tells her the truth that Thornton was Newton, and then but you don't see Lisa after that except for when she shows up with Finch at the I guess conference, symposium, whatever you want to call it. Um, I thought that it was interesting that she said that, but you were
Yeah, I
saying
mean,
that
she pretty much tells her like, she tells Justin like, look, CI is gonna kill me, and he'll kill you. You know what I mean?
mhm.
Like, so
Right,
she
okay,
gave her a
right,
heads
right,
up.
right.
What went through my head at first when I watched this, when she gave her the cross thing, I thought it was like a tracker or something
I
like
thought
that.
that too. I thought that too.
I was like, oh man, she on her shit. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
we do see like it was legit. Like she was legitimately trying to get out of that, and by appointing her as the figurehead, that also made her untouchable. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Because like that, Faraday's whole plan is like, look, I'm bringing these Antheans back. Ain't nothing you can do about it. You touch me, this is what's going to happen. So that's the last thing they need with the little bit of time that they have left, because they didn't obviously they didn't tell them they had a doomsday clock. You know what I mean?
Right.
A little bit of time they had left. Last thing you need is to be fighting over this this fusion device. You know what I mean? That's
Right. Right.
essentially supposed to help everybody. So I thought that I really like that scene, man. It's like the scene in like a heist movie where like the plan finally unfolds and you see how everything worked and you see like how they got away with it, how it happened.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's what that reminds me of right here. Like I also like to see like Finch like kind of get hers too, and kind of like she gets taken off the project, and it gets
Right.
pointed to, like I said, it gets pointed
Get
to
one to the main guys.
which then
Mhm.
gives her protection, because like obviously Finch had everything over her. She altered that document to show that he had committed suicide, even though it was a bullet through the cheek and a bullet through the chest. And
Right.
for whatever reason, I thought he was coming back for sure.
I don't know why you thought that.
I'm
You're
sitting here thinking he
crazy.
was coming back, but
Yeah, I mean, I think it was just very interesting the way it played out. Faraday having the company, passing ownership to Justin and Hatch, which now makes them the two most important and most richest people on the planet, like on Earth. And then, of course, Justin bringing in Dominguez. And so, of course, they basically agree, like, hey, sure, you can bring the Indians back and will provide safe haven, because at this point now you can't risk the algorithm being out there for any other country to gain, because
right,
it's just too potent, it's too like it will create a world ship, and of course.
stabilization, yeah.
Right, and of course Faraday tells Hash to tell Finch, how it all works before they officially decide, like, okay, yeah, we're
Yeah,
gonna give him what
giving
he
giving the
wants.
call back to the
And
episode that he comes in.
right, exactly, exactly. And so I love that, because I mean I like Hatch, and so it's pretty cool. Um, so of course Faraday gets his the deal. He gets the deal he wanted.
Oh,
And he,
also letting them know that his sister's out. She done.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That Edith's out. Yeah, yeah. And then of course you see Hatch go and visit his sister and say, like, we wasted so much time not forgiving each other, not being there for each other. And had you told me your secret, I would have kept it for the rest of my life. And I feel like now she feels uber stupid, which she should, because she's at this point a murderer. You know what I mean? Like, she's a murderer twice over now. And so the idea that she's pretty much at this point lost everything, because Origin is not what it was. And I think that I feel like I could have gone for a little bit of a longer conversation between Hatch and Edie just to kind of close it out.
I thought he was rolling up there with the CIA or something, like he ratted her out, but I guess that was just like a kind of goodbye conversation or whatever.
Yeah,
Because as we know from the last episode, Hatch was supposed to have been the company leader of the company anyway.
right. Yeah. So I mean, but I guess you're right. I definitely did feel like it was a goodbye conversation. I just thought like, okay, they might, they could give us a little bit more. Like he could have just gave it to her. But
Yeah,
I
I mean,
like that he was the nice guy. I
right?
like that he
He could
remained true
definitely
to
be petty.
himself.
He could
Huh?
definitely be petty, and you could, and as she's shown like times over, she don't give two shits about him. She left him with nothing. Get out, you're done, no conversation. So,
Right. Yeah,
but
this is true.
unfortunately, Hatch is not one of those people. He
Yeah,
doesn't.
at this point she's lost like everything. She lost the company, now her brother knows that she really killed their dad and the son is with Hatch now. So, I mean, at this point you are alone in your rage and your, anger. So you got to sit with that.
Right.
And then of course we see Faraday coming back to the family, Justin, Josiah, and Molly, and um, talking to them. I love the moment that he has with Josiah, giving him the hat and saying, like I've never seen a father like you. And I again an homage to Black fathers that you don't get to see that depiction all too often. So I thought it was dope that they chose that moment to honor Josiah, but just to honor the fathers who do show up for their kids in a way that we don't think that they do.
Happy
Um,
Father's
yeah, yeah, true. Happy Father's Day. So I mean, of course, he goes down the list and he talks to Molly and of course Justin but what do you think overall of this ending between him and the family and then him of course taking off?
um, oh man, it was tough. I mean, like, because I mean, he came down. This was the family, and we don't get a real clear timeline on like how much time has actually passed
How
since
much? Yeah,
because
yeah.
it seemed like it was like one moment it was happening after another. Like everything kind of happened like very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And, like how long it took him to do whatever. I mean, only thing we really know to see is like it's 3 months later. But again, we don't know how many weeks, days, what had passed.
Maybe a
But
year. Did
it's
they?
been
They did. I don't think they celebrated birthdays at any point in the season, so it wouldn't even give us like a
right. It wasn't even like a year.
right.
But like we definitely see like him, create a bond and really become family with these people, and the picture with Molly and him being in the family, and
Right.
the conversation with Josiah, saying like, look, he he did me, he gave me something good, and gave me something that I wouldn't have had, because from her perspective, he took away his ability to walk and stuff like that.
Right.
But we definitely like we see the scene where him and Molly are on the steps talking, and
Mm-hmm.
see the bond. They have the hug moment. Man, I almost teared up. Um,
Yeah.
in exchange, she gives him the seeds. She gives him the Lego spaceman. And then like I said, he has this exchange with Josiah, and that was another one where it was just like, yeah, he might not be back in time. He might be gone. But
Right.
let him
Right.
know, look, you were one of the best people, best fathers. I could have had. Best examples of a father. Um, and then the scene with Justin, where like they say what they had to say, and I guess they finally got time to she expressed like how he feels about her, and then they exchange a whole kiss, which I'm like, okay. So
Mm-hmm.
she's like, even though this man's like, yeah, I'm going back for my family. It's like, oh, let me go kiss you. So, I'm not really sure about that, like because it was never really like a moment where to me where it was like they were in love.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, I mean, they really cared about each other, but I never really felt like the love. But again, it wasn't like a super long kiss. It was just like, okay, whatever. And it's like, all right, I gotta go. But that that
Yeah. I
was
mean,
that
I
was
think
kind of like I was gonna say like it was kind of like they said what they had to say, and then that was the end of it. Because once he gets back, there's really no continuation of that relationship of
right.
of a friendship. Like,
Right. I mean, I think that when I look at the end scene, his moment with Molly is just it's touching. I did tear up. I did tear up. I'm not gonna hold you. The whole end of the end of the episode, I was just like, oh my god,
time to clean everything up and
um,
tie up loose ends.
Yeah, but I love that he had that moment with Josiah. I love that he had the moment with Molly. That Molly now understood, like, he's not bad. He is, going back for his family, but he's still part of our family at the same time, and that he values her so much so that, of course, she understands it. She gives him a hug, and so I just really love that journey that they have, the shared moment that they have, and of course with Justin, I think. I won't say that I don't think I think that once shit got real, the whole bad boy scene is like shit just got real. I think that when they had that moment when they had to run, when they had to shut down the lab and they broke everything and this and the third, I think when she chose to stay, that was a moment of she's in it. I think also her attraction to Faraday is similar to the attraction that she had for Molly's father because they are both scientists. And so I think that there was a moment where they both realized that there was love that was happening. I don't know if I would say I think I would say that they were in love, but sometimes love and love looks very different for a lot of people.
Right.
So it might not have looked the normal way that we would see it, but between them two, I think that there was this eternal pull and bond and connection that had them, and they just showed it the way that they knew best. And so I do really love the last scene between the two of them, and I think that they did a great job at just having that moment that says like I love you, or I care about you, but I know that this is it, like I know that this is the end type of situation, like I'm letting you go obviously because you're going to get your family and come back. So I do feel like they rounded off the end of this season, this episode, where it could go either way. They could close it out right here, or they could do another season.
Um,
How you feel about that?
I don't know. It definitely it feels like a one and done to me. Um, just and just leave it open ended at that point because they wrapped up pretty much everything that
Everything.
they needed to. I mean, anything at this point would be just kind of seeing kind of the life of Anthians and the people of whatever Earth, and like kind of seeing the show going forward is like just seeing how what happens to the Earth and whatever, and like seeing how they can prevent it. But no,
Right.
I feel like this is a perfect ending. Only thing I'm really kind of whatever about is what was the deal, because I feel like they don't really explain it. Like what they like he had to sell out where Newton was, and why did he have to do that? You
Right.
know, and like
Oh yeah, that's a good point. So yeah, because he had to give up somebody. He had to.
he had everything at that point. Like why sell up his pseudo dad? You know
I
what I mean?
think that because now Dominguez is in charge, the assumption is that she's not going to do to Newton what Finch and Spencer essentially were trying to do to both of them, because both Finch and Spencer are violent, whereas I feel like Dominguez is not. She doesn't have that violent tendency. She can be violent, but her overall demeanor was more of a. I think she changed throughout the last few episodes because of course we know she's a sellout, right? She sold out her family, which is it's a big ass deal because once you sell out your family, everybody else is you don't give a fuck. But I think that throughout the last few episodes, she switches, right? She realizes like that Faraday, one, he will die for Justin, that he will die to keep like whatever he can. That Spence has gone extremely too far to the deep end. He just murdered a whole house of the nuns or the rehabilitation center, right? So she's seen. I think if I'm gonna be honest, I feel like she saw herself. She saw where she could potentially go if she didn't find herself
Right.
before this shit really hit the fan. I feel like she saw Spencer and was like, I can't end up like this dude. This dude is off the edge. He's crazy. He's nuts. So I think that now, even though Faraday has turned over Newton, it's more of a Dominguez will take care and ask questions, and she will do it in a way that's not going to be like how Finch or Spence would have done it. It won't put it won't they won't torture him essentially. So
Right.
I think that was what it is. But he had to give up. He had to give him up because they just couldn't afford to have both of them just running wild at that point. So
I guess. Yeah, that's the only part that kind of eludes me is just the reason as to why. Maybe I missed it. Uh,
yeah, I that's a good question because when I see it happen, all I remember is that Justin says, I will talk to only Dominguez, right?
right.
Finch says, that's not how this works. And then the guy taps on the window. He tells her she's out. He puts he says something to Dominguez. We don't know what it was. And Justin looks at Faraday and says, you know who they're going to ask you for. And then that's all we see. We don't see anything after that. We don't see the why he needed to give him up or anything, you know. Newton just says like you brought them to my doorstep, like you brought them here. And Faraday says, yeah, like you were blinded by love, so you didn't see me coming, which I thought was very interesting
Right.
because again, here we have that love thing happening where we don't see the dynamic in a way that we would normally see it, but it's still very much love to them and how the characters are portrayed. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I feel like I said, it was real tidy. If it didn't come back for another season, I'd be perfectly okay with it. I personally don't feel like it needs another season. Like it's done.
Yeah.
Like where do you go from? I'm sure they could figure out something, but leave it alone.
Yeah, I think it would be reaching. I think that they did, like you said, they wrapped a nice bow on top of it. Season, was all it needed. I think they did a good job. I think anything past here would be overkill. Like you said, we would just be seeing the Anthony's coming down, and maybe we'll see him at home figuring out how to get everybody down for a few episodes, and we'll see him getting down. Maybe they have some trouble in space, and then they hear but I don't think that that's worth a story. Well, not the way I described it anyway, but I'm not a writer. So, I mean,
Right.
not a television show writer. So yeah, but I mean, shout outs to the entire cast for The Man Who Fell to Earth. And of course, shout out to the creators, Alex Kurtzman and Jenny Lumet, who definitely did an amazing job with this. So I think that, again, like you said, it's one and done. If they do bring something back, I hope that it's just as good as this season.
Right.
But we enjoyed reviewing it, and I hope you
I,
all
I
enjoyed
love
it.
it. It's
You
been
know,
a blast doing this with you, and I hope we get to do something else in the future as cool as this. And
yes.
like I said, like I said, as the show went on, I definitely enjoyed it more and more
Mhm.
as the plot started to unfold, and got to see this go in a positive direction.
Absolutely.
So I'm happy with the ending that I got.
I am too. So until next time, guys, check out the Big Go Bell Media channel. We are reviewing a lot of shows, a lot of movies, and stay tuned. You never know what we're gonna do next. A lot of interviews happening. Subscribe, but make sure you leave your comments and your thoughts on the final episode. Do you want to see a season 2? And what did you like? What didn't you like? Let us know. And until next time, y'all, be safe. Peace.
See you.